The red warning lights of Outpost Delta 47 cast harsh shadows across the landing bay as the Threxeri transport descended through the artificial atmosphere. Corporal Elias Ward adjusted his communications headset, watching through the reinforced viewport as the massive vessel settled onto the docking platform with a mechanical groan that seemed to shake the entire station. "Here they come," muttered Sergeant Torres beside him, his hand unconsciously moving to his sidearm. 8 feet of pure nightmare. Elias said nothing, but his dark eyes remained fixed on the transport's opening hatch. The alliance between humans and the Threxeri had been forged out of necessity. A common enemy threatened both species, but 3 months into the partnership, tension still crackled through every interaction. The first Threxeri warriors emerged, their towering forms clad in ceremonial armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. But it was the final figure that made every human in the bay take an involuntary step backward. Karesha stood nearly 8 feet tall, her pale purple skin marked with ritual scars that spoke of countless battles. Her dark curly hair was bound in traditional warrior knots, and her amber eyes swept the assembled humans with calculating intelligence. Unlike her companions, she wore no armor, only form-fitting tactical gear that emphasized her powerful build and the easy grace with which she moved. "That's her," Torres whispered. "The one they call the Void Walker. They say she's killed more enemies than the rest of her unit combined." Elias watched as Karesha's gaze briefly met his across the bay. For a moment, he saw something unexpected beneath her intimidating exterior, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even loneliness. While the other humans maintained their distance, clustering together like prey animals, Elias found himself stepping forward. "Corporal Ward," Karesha's voice was deep and melodic, her English heavily accented but precise. "I am told you will be my communications liaison." "That's correct," Elias replied, surprised by the steadiness of his own voice. "Welcome to Delta 47. Something shifted in her amber eyes, surprise, maybe, at his lack of fear. Around them, the other soldiers whispered about the dangers of getting too close to a Threxeri, especially one of Karesha's reputation. But Elias only saw a warrior far from home, surrounded by those who feared her very existence. Their alliance was about to become something much more personal. 3 weeks into their assignment, Elias had established a routine that raised eyebrows throughout the outpost. Every morning at 0600, he would find Karesha in the training bay, moving through her combat forms with lethal precision. While other soldiers gave her a wide berth, Elias would sit nearby, reviewing communications protocols and occasionally offering quiet observations about human tactics. "Your people fight with creativity," Karesha said one morning, pausing mid-form to study him. Sweat glistened on her pale purple skin, and her breathing remained steady despite the intense workout. "Desperation breeds innovation," Elias replied, looking up from his tablet. "We're smaller, weaker. We have to be clever." Karesha tilted her head, considering this. "On Threxer, we value strength above all. But watching you work." She gestured to his communications setup, where he'd been coordinating supply drops with remarkable efficiency. "There is a different kind of power in understanding." Their conversations grew longer, deeper. Karesha spoke of her homeworld, the crimson skies and crystalline cities, the honor codes that governed every aspect of Threxeri society. Elias shared stories of Earth, of blue oceans and green forests that made her amber eyes widen with wonder. "You're not afraid of me," she observed one evening as they walked the perimeter together. The artificial stars above Delta 47 cast a soft glow across her features. "Should I be?" Elias asked, genuinely curious. Karesha stopped walking, turning to face him. "My people say that bonding with a Threxeri can be overwhelming for humans. That your minds cannot handle the intensity of our emotions, our physical needs. Maybe the right human just hasn't tried," Elias said softly. The air between them crackled with possibility. Karesha's hand moved instinctively toward his face, then stopped just short of contact. "Elias. Karesha. There you are." Private Hudson's voice cut through the moment like a blade. The young soldier approached nervously, his eyes darting between them. "Command wants to see you both. Some kind of briefing." As they walked toward the command center, Elias caught the whispered conversations that followed in their wake. The other soldiers were growing concerned about his increasingly close relationship with the Threxerai warrior. Some spoke of regulations, others of the supposed dangers of interspecies contact. But when Karesha's hand briefly brushed his in the corridor, sending electricity through his entire body, Elias realized he was past caring about their warnings. Something was growing between them, something that transcended species, fear, and military protocol. The question was whether they'd be brave enough to explore it. The hydroponics bay had become their sanctuary, a place where they could talk without curious eyes watching their every move. Among the growing plants that reminded Karesha of her homeworld, she finally explained what had been building between them. "In Threxerai culture, we have what you might call soulmates," she said, her voice unusually quiet. "When two beings are compatible, their life forces can merge temporarily. It creates a bond deeper than your human concept of love." Elias sat beside her on the metal bench, their knees almost touching. "And you think we're compatible?" Karesha's amber eyes searched his face. "I feel it when you're near. A pull, like gravity. Your emotions. I can almost taste them." She reached out, her large hand covering his. "But the ritual has never been attempted between our species. It could be dangerous." "What kind of dangerous?" "The joining is intense. Mind to mind, soul to soul. Some humans who've attempted bonding with other species have been overwhelmed. Their consciousness scattered." Her grip tightened. "I will not risk you." Elias turned his hand palm up, interlacing their fingers. Her skin was warm, slightly rough from combat training. "What if I'm willing to risk it?" That night, in the privacy of her quarters, Karesh prepared the ritual space. Soft bioluminescent stones from Threxer cast a gentle purple glow, and she'd arranged cushions in a circle according to ancient tradition. She wore a simple robe that left her arms and shoulders bare, revealing the intricate scarification that marked her as a warrior. "Are you certain?" she asked as Elias knelt across from her. "I've never been more certain of anything." Karesh began to chant in her native tongue, her voice rising and falling in hypnotic patterns. As she spoke, she placed her hands on either side of his head, her thumbs resting on his temples. The touch sent waves of warmth through him, and gradually, he began to feel something else, her presence, not just physical but mental, emotional. Their minds touched, and suddenly Elias could feel everything Karesh felt. Her fierce protectiveness, her loneliness, her growing love for him that burned like a star in her chest. In return, she experienced his wonder, his acceptance, his deep appreciation for her strength and vulnerability. The ritual deepened, their bodies drawn together as if magnetized. When Karesh kissed him, it was with the passion of her entire species, overwhelming, consuming, but somehow perfectly matched to his human capacity for love. They moved together with an intimacy that transcended physical pleasure, their souls intertwining in ways that neither had thought possible. Later, as they lay entwined, Karesh traced patterns on his chest with her fingertips. "I can feel you," she whispered. "Even now, I feel your heartbeat as if it were my own." "And I feel yours," Elias replied, pressing his lips to her forehead. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The attack came at dawn, 3 days after their bonding. Elias was in the communications center when the first explosion rocked the outpost, sending him sprawling across the floor. Emergency klaxons wailed as he scrambled to his feet, his training taking over. "Multiple contacts, bearing 270. Torres's voice crackled through the comm system. "It's the Severance Legion, they've breached the outer perimeter." The Severance Legion, rogue elements from both human and Threxerai military forces who opposed the alliance. They'd been quiet for months, but now they were here with devastating force. Through their bond, Elias felt Karesha's battle fury ignite like a wildfire. She was in the armory, suiting up with deadly efficiency. Without conscious thought, he found himself moving to join her, his body responding to her tactical instincts. Elias. Karesha's voice was sharp with concern as he entered the armory. You should be in the bunker with the other non-combatants. I'm staying with you, he said, grabbing a pulse rifle and tactical vest. Through their connection, he could feel her arguments before she voiced them, and she could sense his unshakable determination. The first wave of attackers breached the main corridor as they arrived. Karesha moved like death incarnate, her combat instincts honed by years of warfare. But what made them unstoppable was how they fought together, Elias anticipating her moves, providing cover and tactical support with a precision that seemed almost supernatural. Left flank. Elias called out, even as Karesha was already turning to address the threat. Their bond allowed them to function as a single entity, each covering the other's weaknesses. A Threxeri rogue, massive even by their standards, cornered them in the central hub. Karesha's weapon was depleted, and the enemy warrior raised his warblade for a killing blow. Without hesitation, Elias threw himself between them, his smaller frame no match for the attacker's strength. Time seemed to slow as Karesha's protective instincts exploded through their bond. She caught the warrior's blade with her bare hands, her rage so intense that even the battle-hardened rogue faltered. In one fluid motion, she disarmed him and struck a blow that sent him crashing into the wall. Never, she snarled, pulling Elias to his feet, threaten what is mine. The battle raged for hours, but gradually, the coordinated efforts of the human and Threxeri defenders began to turn the tide. Other soldiers, witnessing the devastating effectiveness of Elias and Karesha's partnership, began to fight with new hope. As the last of the attackers were subdued, Karesha and Elias stood together in the smoking ruins of the corridor, their bodies pressed close, sharing the same rapid heartbeat through their bond. We did it, Elias breathed, his voice filled with wonder. We did, Karesha agreed, her amber eyes reflecting fierce pride and deep love. Together. 6 months later, Outpost Delta 47 had been rebuilt and expanded. The attack by the Severance Legion had been a turning point, not just in the war, but in the relationship between humans and Threxeri. The footage of Elias and Karesha fighting as one had spread throughout both fleets, inspiring other cross-species partnerships. Commander Webb, initially skeptical of their bond, now openly praised their effectiveness. Ward and Karesha have shown us something we didn't know was possible, he announced during a ceremony honoring the defenders of Delta 47. They've proven that our alliance can be more than just military cooperation, it can be true partnership. In the crowd, Elias watched with quiet pride as Karesha received the highest honor both species could bestow. She wore her dress uniform, the deep purple fabric complementing her skin tone, and her dark curls were arranged in the elaborate style reserved for formal occasions. You're staring, she said later, as they walked hand in hand through the new cultural center, a space where humans and Threxeri could learn about each other's civilizations. I'm admiring, Elias corrected, bringing her hand to his lips. My bonded mate, the hero of Delta 47. Karesha laughed, the sound like music. Our victory, remember. I am nothing without my other half. Their quarters had been expanded to accommodate both human and Threxeri needs. That night, they made love with the passion that had only grown stronger since their bonding. Karesha's strength was matched by infinite gentleness, her powerful frame cradling Elias as they moved together in perfect synchronization. I love you, she whispered against his skin, her voice raw with emotion. In my language, in yours, in the language of souls, I love you. And I love you, Elias replied, his hands tracing the scars that marked her as a warrior while his lips found the sensitive spots that made her gasp with pleasure. My Karesha. My everything. As they lay entwined afterward, their heartbeats slowly returning to normal, Karesha shared the news she'd been saving. Command has approved our request, she said, her voice filled with wonder. We're to establish a new training program, teaching human Threxeri bonding techniques to willing volunteers. Elias sat up, his eyes bright with excitement. Really? They're going to let us train other couples? More than that, Karesha said, pulling him back down into her arms. "They want us to be the first official interspecies diplomatic team. We'll travel between the fleets, showing both our peoples what's possible when we truly trust each other." Through their bond, Elias felt her dreams of a future where their love story wasn't unique, where humans and Threxeri could stand together not just as allies, but as family. It was a future worth fighting for, worth bonding for, worth loving for. As artificial dawn broke over Delta 47, they held each other close, two souls from different worlds who had found their home in each other's arms. Their bond had become the foundation for something greater, a bridge between species, a testament to the power of love to overcome fear, and proof that the strongest bonds are forged not in similarity, but in the courage to embrace what is different. The war would continue, but now it was fought by united hearts and minds, with the strength that could only come from true partnership. Elias and Karesha had shown the way, and the galaxy would never be the same.